I'm diving into the top 20 NFL rookies for the 2025 season, not just by talent, but by how they'll impact your fantasy team in year one. So whether you're a dynasty drafter, a redraft player, or you just love rookie hype, this one's for you. Let's tear through the tiers and hand out some fantasy gold. Starting with tier 1, and these are the guys that are going to absolutely carry your fantasy team this year and beyond. And there's only one guy in this tier. It is Ashton Jeanty, running back, drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders with the number 6 pick. He's a fantasy cheat code waiting to happen. They got Pete Carroll, a head coach now. Geno Smith, a quarterback upgrade. And this offensive line is actually at least average, not a terrible offensive line. Jeanty is about to eat in this offense. 300 touches, red zone work, pass catching. He's the kind of back that can absolutely be a league winner year in and year out. All right, now we got tier 2. These are potential fantasy studs, but they also have a little bit of risk. And I'm going to start with Travis Hunter, who apparently is going to be wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags traded up for Hunter, and you don't do that unless you've got big plans for him. Head coach Liam Cohen already said he's going to start at wide receiver, and he's arguably the best receiver prospect, not only in this class, but in the last half decade. Next is Cam Ward, quarterback of the Titans. And look, if you're in a super flex league and you really need quarterback, I could put Cam Ward ahead of Travis Hunter. He's a mobile quarterback. He can absolutely break fantasy. He's got that juice. Now, the offense around him, I wish it was a little bit better, but this is a guy who can give you 500 plus rushing yards, 5+ touchdowns on the ground. Not to mention he still has that arm talent. No, he's not going to be this year's Jaden Daniels, but he's going to be good enough. Next is Omarion Hampton, running back of the Chargers. Sure, he probably starts behind Najee Harris, but come on, you know Najee's going to average like 3.5 yards per carry, and Hampton is taking over this job before Halloween. Yes, he might have a slow start, but he's going to have a strong finish, and that matters more. And then rounding out this tier is running back RJ Harvey, drafted by the Denver Broncos. This is one of the most surprising picks of the early rounds, but this is a sneaky good pick. Not to mention Denver's O-line was quietly very good last year, just their running backs weren't. Harvey's got vision, he's got burst, and just enough pass catching to make him a stud in fantasy. And if he figures out how to pass protect, we're looking at a potential league-winning running back. All right, let's move on to tier 3. These are guys who definitely have weekly upside, but they also have weekly risk. And let's start with Quinshon Judkins, running back now of the Cleveland Browns. I really thought he was going to be in the tier above, but then the Browns did go out and draft Dylan Sampson in round 4. He's also annoyingly good. I still think Judkins is going to be the RB1 here, but we might see more Sampson than we like. And let's remember Jerome Ford, for whatever it's worth, also still there, so this might be closer to a 50-50 split. But look, if Judkins can take over this backfield, he has the potential to go in the next tier, so I can't drop him too low. Number 7, I think I'm higher than most on Matthew Golden, wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers. Now, I get it. It's the Green Bay Packers. It's a maddening wide receiver room, but I love Golden's fit in this offense. He's got that legit, like, Tyreek Hill type of upside. He's a guy that can absolutely be put into motion and then burn on those deep routes. So he's got that upside. I think he can give you multiple huge games this year. Yes, he's going to be volatile, but I want a shot on that upside. Next is a guy that most people had as their wide receiver 1 in this class, Tetairoa McMillan, who went to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers finally have their wide receiver 1, and he fits this offense perfectly. He's big, he's reliable, but I do worry that the ceiling is a little bit capped by the offense. But I kind of think of him as like a better Cortland Sutton, a safe wide receiver 2 with a solid floor. No, he doesn't have massive upside, but he's also not going to tank your week. Then there's my guy, Jack Bech, wide receiver now of the Las Vegas Raiders. I talked about him about potentially being this year's Puka Nacua. And look, I was tempted to put him ahead of McMillan, but I can't do it just yet. But again, I've already talked about it. This Raiders offense is going to be much better. Pete Carroll, Geno Smith cooking together. He's clearly the wide receiver 1 here, and he's a talented wide receiver. So I wanted to put him higher, but I can't do it. But it wouldn't surprise me if he outscored some of the guys ahead of him. And I feel similarly about running back TreVeyon Henderson of the New England Patriots. Man, I love this guy as a prospect, but I don't love this landing spot. It's not going to be a dynamic offense. They're not going to run a lot of snaps, but I think he instantly slots into that pass catching role. He's a fantastic pass protector, and he's got that breakaway speed. And there is a chance that if Stevenson fumbles his way to the bench, this guy could absolutely be a league winner. But right now, Stevenson is still there, so I have to have him in this tier. And then there's Cam Skattebo, a.k.a. Cam Skattebo, because it's a better running back name. Now the New York Giants, you know how I feel about this guy if you've been watching me all offseason. He does everything well. He can block, he can catch, he can run through contact, he can run routes. But unfortunately, it's still the Giants who definitely have one of the worst offensive lines. But I think Skattebo can be a volume play who can be solid in fantasy week in and week out. Then finally, rounding out this tier is going to be running back Caleb Johnson, now of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We know Arthur Smith loves to run that outside zone scheme, which fits this guy's profile perfectly. He'll take over the Najee role in this offense. Of course, what keeps him from being in the tier above is Jaylen Warren is still sticking around to ruin full-on dominance. But this guy should be a better version of Najee Harris, a guy that has a high floor, maybe not a high ceiling. All right, let's move on to tier 4 now. These are guys I think can certainly help you in year 1, but they may not have the most upside. Starting with Kyle Williams, wide receiver of the New England Patriots. I love this guy as a prospect. He fits with this offensive needed, that outside wide receiver. He's great on those short and intermediate routes, which is perfect for Drake May. Can be that safety blanket. And he's also great after the catch. Now, it's going to be a low volume offense, which is going to keep the target share to the point where he can't be that upside wide receiver, but again, a very high floor play in fantasy. Next is Trey Harris, wide receiver of the Chargers, another big-bodied ex-wide receiver that the Chargers absolutely needed, but with Ladd McConkey there and a run-heavy game plan, again, passing volume is going to be scarce. Still, touchdown upside is there, big play upside is there. Again, I'm going to say another guy, think kind of like Courtland Sutton, that kind of fantasy production in year 1. Then we've got Jaylen Nowell, wide receiver of the Texans. This is one of my favorite slot guys in this entire class, but the Texans have really bolstered that wide receiver group. They signed Christian Kirk in the offseason. They also drafted his former college teammate, Jaden Higgins, but I do think Nowell will take over that slot role from Christian Kirk as the season goes on, and that will give him enough value in fantasy. But with Nico there as the one, Higgins, Kirk, yeah, a lot of mouths to feed. He's probably not going to have massive upside. Then there's Luther Burden, wide receiver of the Chicago Bears. This guy is an absolute elite talent, but he's in a crowded wide receiver room. You know they already have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. They spent a top 10 pick on a tight end. It's going to be hard for Burden to rack up the volume, but this is a guy who doesn't need it. This is a guy who can take any play to the house. So looking like, more of a flex play with upside. Best ball gold may be frustrating in your redraft leagues, though. And now rounding out this tier is going to be Jaylen Nowell's once again teammate, Jaden Higgins, wide receiver of the Texans. When they first drafted him, I was stoked that, he's going to take over that Stephon Diggs role, those intermediate short routes. But then, of course, they did grab Nowell. They do still have Kirk. So again, targets are going to be hard to come by here. But he does have a defined role in this offense. So I think he'll at least give you a weekly floor. Now tier 5, this is my final tier. These guys are talented, they have potential, but the path to opportunity or volume isn't quite clear. And let's start with Jackson Dart, quarterback for the New York Giants. Look, the Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart. I mean, Brian Daboll apparently loves this guy, but he also did say that Russell Wilson is the starter. But we all know that can change by week 5. Still, though, I don't see anything about Jackson Dart that screams, elite fantasy QB. Sure, he'll be fine, but he is also behind a terrible offensive line. So yes, he may be a streaming QB throughout the season, but I don't see him being anything more than that. And now you're probably wondering, why am I not talking about any of the tight ends? Well, here you go. Next up is Colston Loveland, tight end of the Bears. And again, I feel like he's just going to be a streamer for tight end this year because, again, the Bears have a bunch of pass catchers. Yes, they used a top 10 pick on him. Yes, they want him to be his Sam Laporta, but Sam Laporta was only really competing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Loveland is going to be competing behind DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. So yes, he'll probably have some touchdown upside in year 1, but probably not a lot of receptions or yards. And I'm going to finish with another tight end, Tyler Warren. This is the guy everybody thought, like the tight end one in this class. He went to the Indianapolis Colts. And look, I actually love the player. He's a great player. I like Loveland a little bit more, but he's still a great player. But when your fate lies in the hands of Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, it's hard to be very bullish here. Yes, he'll flash this year, but I don't see him being anything more than a streamer in year 1. So there you have it, the top 20 rookies you need to know for year 1. But I got a lot of other rookie videos coming your way on this upcoming week. Stay tuned and follow this playlist right here to find out everything you need to know.